Conflicts of various types are a natural part of the team process. Although we often view conflict as negative, there are benefits to conflict if it is managed appropriately. People handle conflict in their teams in a variety of ways, depending on the importance of their desire to maintain good social relations and to develop high quality solutions. Teams can use a variety of approaches for managing conflict. Developing a healthy solution to a conflict requires open communication, respect for the other side, and a creative search for mutually satisfying alternatives. We're going to look at these items in Chapter 7. Conflict is the process by which people or teams perceive that others have taken some action that has a negative effect on their interest. Conflict is a normal part of a team's life. Unfortunately, people have misconceptions about conflict that interfere with how they deal with it. These misconceptions include the following: conflict is bad and should be avoided, misunderstandings by team members cause conflict, and all conflict can be resolved to everyone's satisfaction. A lack of conflict also may not be healthy for a team. It may indicate unhealthy agreement, a domineering leader, or that the team has become routine. In other words, they are not striving for improvement. Teams often do not handle their conflict very well. Sometimes, rather than trying to manage their conflicts, they try to ignore or avoid them. This is called defensive avoidance. To avoid a conflict, everyone becomes quiet when a controversy occurs. Decision-making problems, such as the Abilene paradox, are in part caused by the desire to avoid controversy. Team members accept what the leader says in order to avoid conflict. The consequences of poor decision-making and more problems later in the team's life. The causes of team conflict change during a team's development. During the initial stage, there is little conflict because team members are being polite and trying to understand everyone's positions. This gives way to team conflicts about operating rules and status issues as the team sorts out its roles and its rules. Once the team becomes task-oriented, conflicts arise about how tasks should be performed. Often, the final stages of a project have little conflict because team members are focused on implementing their earlier decisions. The impacts of conflict on a team depend on its stage of development. Many team development theories propose that teams must overcome conflict in the early stages of team development before becoming a cohesive and productive team. Learning how to successfully manage conflict is an important developmental process of a team. In addition, task conflict is more valuable during the planning stages of a team project than during the implementation stages. Conflict during the implementation stage may interfere with the coordination of the team's activities. It is important to talk about conflict management than it is about conflict resolution. Conflict is a normal part of a team's operation, and some conflicts cannot be fully resolved. The resolution of a conflict depends on the type of conflict. If it is about task issues, the solution is an agreement. Typically, once the agreement is made, it continues to operate. If the conflict is about relationship issues, then an agreement, periodic checks on how well the agreement is working, and opportunities to redefine the agreement are needed. This is true because agreements about relationship issues can change as the relationship changes. Finding the root cause of the conflict is important. The team should not waste time dealing with only the symptoms of the conflict. Table 7.1 from the textbook presents a list of healthy and unhealthy sources of conflict. Legitimate or healthy conflicts are caused by a variety of factors. Differences in values and objectives of team members, differing beliefs about the motives and actions of others, and different expectations about the results of decisions can all lead to conflict about what the team should do. These differences create conflicts, but these conflicts have a positive effect on team problem solving and decision making. Through conflict, opposing views are heard, challenges and problems are identified, and new, more creative solutions are developed. Hidden conflicts that are not really about the team's task may spring from organizational, social, and personal sources. Organizational causes of conflict include competition over scarce resources, ambiguity over responsibilities, status differences among team members, and competitive reward systems. One common type of organizational conflict is the conflict between the team's goals and the goals of individual team members that we have discussed previously. This is especially true for a cross-functional project team made up of representatives from different parts of an organization. Hidden agendas, such as the hidden personal goals of team members, may lead to conflict in the team that can be difficult to identify and resolve. Gaining agreement about the overall goals of the team and renegotiating team roles can help deal with this type of conflict. Although people often view conflict as a negative event, conflict in teams is both inevitable and a sign of health. Healthy teams are organized to gain the benefits of multiple perspectives. Team members with these multiple perspectives view issues differently and learn from one another in the process of resolving their differences. Conflict is an integral part of the team process. It becomes unhealthy for the team when it is avoided or viewed as an opportunity to dominate the opponent. The benefits of conflict are that it encourages the team to explore new approaches, it motivates people to understand issues better, and it encourages new ideas. Controversies bring out problems that have been ignored, encourage debate, and foster new ideas. When opposing views are brought into the open and discussed, the team makes better decisions and organizational commitment is enhanced. When conflict is dealt with constructively, it stimulates greater team creativity. For this to happen, team members must be willing to participate in the conflict resolution process. Conflict can have negative effects on a team by creating strong negative emotions and stress, interfering with communication and coordination, and diverting attention from tasks and goals. Conflict can destroy team cohesion, damage social relations, and create winners or losers, inevitably becoming a source of conflict in the future. One factor that determines whether a conflict will have a positive or negative effect is the emotional intensity of the conflict. Mild task conflict occurs when teams debate, express differences of opinions, and are willing to disagree with each other, while intense task conflict occurs when team members clash or argue about differences of opinion and criticize each other. Intense task conflicts sometimes lead to relationship conflicts. Intense conflicts can have negative effects on the team even when the conflicts remain task-oriented because they discourage further communication within the team. Whether conflicts are productive or unproductive also depends on how the team tries to resolve its conflicts. Productive conflicts are about issues, ideas, and tasks. The team typically tries to resolve productive conflict in a cooperative manner. The team takes a learning approach to the conflict. Unproductive conflicts are about emotions and personalities. The team typically tries to resolve these issues with one side trying to dominate the other. In productive conflicts, team members focus cooperatively on solving problems. Whether conflict has beneficial or detrimental effects on a team depends on the type of conflict and the team's tasks. Relationship conflict has a negative impact on team performance and cohesion because it distracts members from the task and consumes the emotional resources of the team. Process conflict occurs when people performing routine tasks have differences over how the team is managing the task or coordinating the role assignments of the members. Process-related conflict is detrimental to a team's performance because it is often related to feelings of inequity about the distribution of resources and responsibilities among team members. Task conflict occurs when people performing non-routine tasks differ about what is the best approach. This type of conflict usually has a positive effect on team performance. The reality is that task and relationship conflict are often correlated. Disagreement on a task issue can lead to personal attacks. It is difficult to say, I don't like your ideas, and not have it heard as, I think you are stupid. Relationship conflicts often lead to increased task conflicts because of the negative emotions that are created. One factor that affects the relationship between task conflict and the performance is trust. When team members have a high degree of trust in each other, task-related conflict is less likely to lead to relationship conflict. Teams with high levels of trust can tolerate task-related conflict and use the conflict productively. The way a team manages the conflict process determines whether the conflict is constructive or destructive to the team. The conflict management style a team uses can either be cooperative or competitive. The cooperative style focuses on developing collaborative solutions that are good for the individual and the team, while the competitive style focuses on what is good for the individual. The cooperative style encourages communication and the exploration of alternative approaches to solving problems, while a competitive style discourages communication. Constructively managing conflicts requires team members to openly express their views, listen and understand the positions of other team members, and then try to integrate the opposing opinions into an agreement. An open and supportive communication environment allows the team to resolve their differences without disrupting the relationships within the team. Even resolving relationship conflicts can help the team to better understand and appreciate each other. The development of trust among team members helps to prevent task-related conflict from leading to relationship conflict. The primary precondition for constructive controversy to operate is that team members believe that they are in a cooperative relationship where team members are committed to helping each other satisfy their goals. Teams can benefit from task conflict when they have a high degree of trust and psychological safety. To use conflict constructively, teams need to cultivate an environment that is open and tolerant of diverse viewpoints, where team members feel free to express their opinions and have the ability to resist pressure to conform to the team. They need to develop cooperative work relationships so that disagreements are not misinterpreted as personal attacks. A constructive controversy uses communication styles that focus on issues and ideas and not on personal criticism. There are several ways people and teams can try to resolve conflicts. The approaches they take depend on their personalities, their social relations, and the particular situation. The types of conflict resolution approaches can be analyzed using the following two dimensions: distribution and integration. Distribution is concern about one's own outcomes, and integration is concern about the outcomes of others. In other words, people in a conflict can be assertive and try to get the most for themselves, or they can be cooperative and concerned with how everyone fares. These two dimensions are independent and lead to the creation of 5 different approaches to conflict resolution, which we will discuss on the next few slides. The first conflict resolution approach is avoidance. This approach tries to ignore the issues or denies that there is a problem. By not confronting the conflict, team members hope it will go away by itself. The next approach is accommodation. Some team members may decide to give up their position in order to be agreeable. They are being cooperative, but it costs the team the value of their opinions and ideas. Confrontation is the third type. This is acting aggressively and trying to win is the one way to deal with a conflict. However, winning can become more important than making a good decision. The fourth type is compromise. One way to balance the goals of each participant and the relations among the team members is for everyone to give in a little. And finally, collaboration. When both sides of a conflict have important concerns, the team needs to search for solutions that satisfies everyone. This requires both cooperativeness and respect for others' positions. This slide summarizes what we discussed in the last few slides. It graphs the conflict resolution approaches by the degree of assertiveness and cooperativeness. As you can see, avoidance is low in both being cooperative and assertive, while collaboration is high in both being assertive and cooperative. By looking at this graphic, you can determine the degree of assertiveness and cooperativeness for the confrontation, compromise, and accommodation approaches as well. Successful conflict management requires developing trust among participants. If members on one side trust members of the other side and believe everyone wants a fair solution, they are better able to negotiate a solution. Many conflict reduction approaches are designed to build trust among the parties in a conflict. For example, in a study of bargaining through email, allowing participants to engage in a get acquainted telephone call before the bargaining session increases chances of reaching an agreement by 50%. Outside mediators or facilitators can sometimes help manage team conflicts when the issues have become too emotional. Mediators operate by gaining trust among participants, managing hostilities, developing solutions to conflicts, and gaining commitment to the solutions from participants. They use a variety of tactics to do this. Some tactics focus on the emotional or relationship aspects of situations, whereas others are oriented more towards problem-solving aspects. In highly emotionally charged situations, direct communication can lead to threats and aggressive language. Mediators help control the communications between people on both sides of the conflict to ensure courtesy and respectful communication. They create controlled opportunities for each side to express their views and listen to and acknowledge the other side's perspective. This helps reduce the impact of miscommunication and confusion about the other side's position. Mediators search for small areas of agreement in order to build trust and demonstrate that there is a common ground. It is important to note again that mediators do not have the authority to impose a solution. They merely make recommendations. Virtual teams, or teams that interact primarily through communication technology, may have more conflicts and more problems resolving conflicts. Conflicts are more likely to occur in virtual teams because miscommunication is more likely to occur. This is especially true for emotional issues because people are not very good at communicating emotions in writing, and the increased anonymity of communications technology may encourage more uninhibited emotional communications. Once conflicts start in virtual teams, they have a tendency to escalate, sometimes called email wars, because the miscommunications build with each message. Not only are conflicts due to miscommunication more likely to occur in virtual teams, but they are also harder to resolve. Virtual teams often have less developed social relations and group cohesion, which makes resolving social issues more difficult. Also, there is less pressure toward agreement in virtual teams, so team members are less willing to accommodate the other team member views. The ability to send messages to all team members and others increases the number of participants in the conflict. When conflict escalates in virtual teams, the first step in managing the conflict is to stop sending electronic messages advocating your position or expressing your emotions. These messages often are misinterpreted, so they do not help to resolve the conflict. In many cases, the team leader needs to intervene and facilitate the resolution of virtual conflicts to prevent them from continuing. Since the core of the problem is often miscommunication, a face-to-face meeting is often necessary to resolve the misunderstanding. On this last slide, we are going to look at how to negotiate conflicts. Negotiation or bargaining is a process where two sides that are engaged in a conflict exchange offers and counteroffers in an effort to find a mutually acceptable agreement. One of the most important dimensions in understanding how negotiation works in conflict resolution is whether participants have a win-win or a win-lose perspective. A win-win perspective is based on the belief that what is good for one side is incompatible with what is good for the other. With a win-win perspective, participants believe a solution that satisfies both is possible. The goal of managing team conflicts is to develop integrative win-win agreements that are beneficial to both sides. Integrative agreements are more rewarding than compromises and improve ongoing relationships among parties. The key to developing integrative agreements are focusing attention on interest rather than positions and developing trust and rapport with the conflicted parties. This concludes Chapter 7. Please let me know if you have any questions.